Okay, y'all, so I haven't made a video in a while because I've been actively trying to fix all of the mechanical hacks that the owner of the last vehicle or the last 40 years worth of owners have done to this truck. So let me bust you out here and show you what we've got going on. Well, first, I pulled off there was a 750cc carburetor on this truck. Now this truck has a 396 out of a 1969 Chevy. And while it is definitely a big block, it doesn't require anything over a 600 carburetor. So that's what I put on it. I put a Street Warrior from Holly on it. So let's wait in this car to go by. That's my buddy that stopped to talk to me the other day. And I'll turn this camera around and shoot some video for you at it. All right, as you can see, there's now a Holly. It's a 600 Street Warrior, has an electric choke. So let's talk about electric chokes for a minute. The electric choke is simply a bimetallic strip of wire that's spun into a coil inside that black plastic cover. The red wire is hot when the key is on. The black wire is a ground. It's grounded to the carburetor itself. What it does is the choke stays mostly closed when it first gets fired up, closes the choke, and then as the electricity heats that coil up, the coil expands and it opens the choke. This guy that I bought the truck from had not connected up the choke on the other carburetor and had actually taken a zip tie and zip tied it to where the linkage was constantly open. So not only was there no choke, which means the truck didn't want to start, it didn't want to come up to temperature properly, but that 750 was just dumping gas down into the intake, washing all the oil from the cylinder walls. So when I changed the oil, before I changed the oil, when I smelled the oil, and the dipstick tube doesn't actively stay in, you gotta like force it into the block and hold it when you pull the dipstick tube out. But it had so much oil in it. It had so much oil down, or so much gasoline down in with the oil, all you could smell was gas. There was no viscosity left at all in the oil. So it was completely worthless. It was not doing its job, lubricating the engine. So hopefully the cylinder walls aren't just scarred and there's a ton of blow by because the piston rings aren't doing their job anymore. So not a good thing to do. Giant carburetors do not equal giant power. And there's an equation that will tell you the maximum size carb that you need for your engine application. If you want to look that up, you can look that up. But it's the block size divided by this, multiplied by that, something in that range. But it's pretty simple. In addition to that, the electronics in this truck were crazy. So you would turn the key. Oh, well, before we talk to that, the starter that was on here, not the starter that belonged on here. It was, I don't know what it is. I'll get it checked out maybe or try to sell it. I don't know. But it would not, and I'll take a picture of it, and what he did before I even get into that. Maybe I can edit that part out, maybe not. But let me show you what he did with that. So again, hack mechanics are not good mechanics. Don't let your ass write checks your mouth and head can't cash, I guess, when it comes to working on vehicles.
Pow, pow, pow! It's so angry! Oh! Oh, good!
Alright, so I cut you back on. These are the starters bolts that this man had. There are 3 lock washers on each of the bolts. And then there are another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regular washers. You'll notice that there's no knurling on these bolts. So these are not starter bolts. These are just regular old fucking grade 8 bolts. Or they might be grade 8 because of the color. I can't tell. and I don't care that much. So he had the incorrect starter using the incorrect bolts, both in length and make, and had 8 washers on them. And they were so gorilla tight that I almost had to get a breaker bar. And you just don't do that, because if you snap a bolt from your starter off in your engine block, it's bad. It's bad. You may have just destroyed the block. So in addition to that, when I changed the oil, the filter, which of course was a Fram, which we all know is trash, was on so tight. I thought I was gonna have to stab a screwdriver through it and spin it off with a breaker. And because it's got headers on it, you really can't get up into anything. So here's the thing. Oil filters do not need to be on with the strength of Hercules. They just simply need to be finger tight and a quarter, half a turn more. Your electric choke is a choke for a reason. If you don't like electric chokes, buy the extra additional parts and put in a manual choke. But you need to have some sort of a choke. Giant carburetors do not equal giant power. You need to have the right carburetor, and it's better to be under-carbureted than over-carbureted. This is a street truck. It is not a hot rod. It's not a race truck. It is a 1976 Chevy C20 3/4 ton long bed pickup truck. So there's absolutely no reason to do all that. Save your money. But I do have a carburetor for sale. So if any of you got a race truck, a race car, or something like that, and you want a 750, go ahead. So while I'm still talking shit, that is your distributor. It's got a vacuum advance, which that little silver canister is. That vacuum advance comes up and it goes into a ported vacuum line on the carburetor. This dude had it on a manifold vacuum line, so it wouldn't work. Brake booster had no vacuum to it. Let's see what else. I don't know. It was ridiculous. So I had to wire in, because of the way the ignition is, something is wrong with the actual ignition. I put a new tumbler in, but it just didn't want to, like, the wire from the ignition selection down to the starter was bad or whatever, and I didn't want to fart with it. So I put in a push button start. So you turn the key on so that the distributor gets constant power, and then you just hit the little push button and it starts up. So I had to wire in this relay, and no, you don't have to wire in a relay, but you should when you're dealing with power from here to the cab and back to here. So there's one relay that gets constant power, comes into this relay. This relay runs to the button. The button runs back to the relay. The button runs back to the power. So the button gets power through a fusible link to the relay. The relay has hot down to the starter and hot up to the battery, and a permanent ground down to the chassis. So when you press the button, this relay allows power to go from the battery to the starter. You release the button and it releases that power. So I had to wire that in through the firewall. Then there's more craziness that goes on in here. There was a whole slew of wires that I have absolutely no idea what they do. This, I don't know what this is. This is just another crazy wire that goes nowhere, along with all of the other craziness that's going on in here. Let me show you this. This is your power steering pump. Power steering pump has a belt that goes down to the, of course, down there to the engine that spins. Also, there's one that runs both the water pump, both the water pump and the alternator. Loose, but not bad. Now, this power steering is all the way out. You can't even see it, but it's all the way towards the driver's side, so it can't be pulled any tighter. Now, look at this hose here. Dang it, I wish. Yeah, look. So, wrong. I said hose, but I meant belt. So, completely wrong belt. Just get a shorter belt. You've got 5 inches of adjustment on your power steering pump. Why would you buy that belt? I don't know. But anyway, so I got to deal with that, which means I got to take that belt off and then that belt off, replace that belt, put that belt back on. So I'll just replace belts. In addition, he said he had a 200 Fahrenheit water thermostat. So the truck would run at 200. Well, we live in deep South Texas. I don't like 200. I want at least a 180. 165 is a little too low, but 180. So he get this truck started. It gets up to 200 plus, and this hose is swole. So thermostat was stuck. Pull the thermostat out, and it is just rusted shut. So again, he put in a new aluminum 3-core radiator, but doesn't do the $30 worth of hose, and it's only like a $4 thermostat. Why would you do that? Just do it right the first time, so you don't have to deal with these issues. Now then, this truck has a 400 transmission in it, so of course it's an automatic. Welds this thing in like this. I don't know. I'm thinking about pulling all that junk out and putting it back on the floor. Yeah, you might have to lean forward a little bit, but this is a terrible spot. It ruins the whole functionality of the bench seat. I don't know. Don't chop out body panels until you're ready to put new body panels in, or until you've already welded your body panels in and you're doing butt welds and cutting it out. So I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Yes, I know. This is to the coil, or to the electric choke. I gotta get that cleaned up. But that's what I had to do to get it working and get these wires up. And there's just wires, random wires everywhere that I haven't figured out where they go or what they are for. And nothing, nothing is the way it's supposed to be. There's a little push button right there. I'll get the keys and start it here in a minute. So the truck bed was a hot mess as well, of just dirt and grease and misuse. I went in with a angle grinder and a wire wheel, and wire wheeled all the rust out down to bare metal, primed it, well, steel sealed it, primed it, and shot it with the Erlax power sprayer, which is awesome. Just an awesome tool. I'm not really going to worry about the rust that's in here for right now. I may get a bed liner later, but the bed's sturdy, the sides are good. The little bit of rust that's in here, unless I'm hauling sand or something, really isn't going to bother too much. And then I can always power spray it out to get anything that's stuck in here, but this will stop a little bit more of the rust. The tailgate got non-skid on it. Just a little sand to give it some extra grip when you're standing on it. I didn't do the whole truck bed, but I did the tailgate, because that's where most of the slips and falls are going to happen if you are standing on the tailgate and you happen to slip on it. All right. Of course, the doors are trashed. There's no headliner. I'm going to have to put a new rear view. I got a rear view camera installed because I put plastic dip on that back window, because in Texas, you only need one mirror that can see 200 feet behind you. So when I pull these doors off to go to the beach, I'll have that rear view camera, and that'll work just fine. But this stops and blocks all the sun from coming in. Let me go fire this peckerwood up and see how that works. Just prime that bowl, because it's been sitting for the day. Let's see if we can't actually get some into it. There we go. Because it was completely out of gas. That should be enough. It was completely out of gas. So I had to go and get a 5-gallon gas can and fill that up. So the Bull's got some gas in it. That way it doesn't have to just crank and crank to get fuel up in there. Let's see what we can do here. Like I said, key goes in the ignition. Ignition goes to the on position. Reach over here. Fires right up. Fires right up. Even idles a little bit. Let's see if this comes up to temperature. It idles right now. It wasn't doing that before until I put that new carburetor on it. Let's cut it back on after it warms up. All right, we're at 160. We got 46 PSI of oil pressure. Nobody ever hooks up the voltmeter, but I've got 12 at the battery. Slowly but surely that temperature gauge is creeping up. Let's see what happens when it gets to the 185. While we're waiting for that temperature to come up, I did manage to get the exhaust on that last time. We saw us working on that. So you got exhaust. I don't know what that wire is there. So that's good to go. It's nice to have exhaust, not just open header. Alright, we're getting to close to 185. That thermostat should have opened. So there you have it. The truck's running. It's got a new carburetor. It's got a new starter. It's got new exhaust. It's got a new ignition system. It's got a clean and painted bed. The hole in the holes in the roof are fixed. The roof is painted. Now, if it only had matching tires on any corner, let alone matching tires all 4 ways around, that would be amazing, but it doesn't. So that's something else. Hate the billet grill, absolutely hate it. But I'm thinking about driving it down to the gas station and, well, getting gas. So anyway, quick video on the 76 C10 and the progress that we're making on it right now. Next will be belts, hoses, fluid in the radiator changed, and start working on some of the interior stuff. But that's where I'm at right now. So all in all, if I can sell that carburetor for what it's worth, I'll recoup the money for this carburetor and the starter, and I'm really still not into the truck very much at all. All right, budget build, C20. Thanks for watching. So I'm back to you with the final outro for this particular video. I went ahead and changed the inline oil filter No, I didn't. I changed the inline fuel filter, put on a new fuel line from the fuel pump up to the inline fuel filter to the carburetor, and put in a new vacuum line from the PVC valve to the carburetor. Kind of tuned down a little bit. I still need a buddy to put it in gear and pump the brakes so I can check and create the best vacuum as possible. But found out that my gas filler neck is leaking, and I think the timing's off, probably. So I got to get that checked. And but other than that, I've taken it to a gas station, and I've managed to go around the park and back without it dying. It only shit one of the glass packs off of the header, so I got to get that on and get that tightened down. But you know, eventually I'll be able to put a mile on it, maybe, and see where we can go from there. So still tons and tons and tons of work to do. So more and more videos for everyone, and we'll see what we've got going on from there. But she starts up right now, and that's pretty cool. And I still think it's got a little bit of either a misfire or the timing's off. But hell, who knows? I mean, as bad as the last owner was, we have no idea. So anyway, keep checking in. I'm going to keep working on this slowly but surely. I've got 2 more weeks offshore, and then I'll come back and do another one. So maybe Pretty Girl will be in the next one. We can only hope and pray. God bless. Thank you. Stay safe. And please like and subscribe.